if you can imagine an organisation as a narcissistic person, they're the same.
You describe the culture at the Workington Club as a boys' club that ostracises anyone who tries to raise concerns. Can you share a specific example of how this culture negatively impacted facilitators or attendees?
Or on multiple occasions, attendees and facilitators felt like they were shut down, bullied, belittled, felt like they couldn't share something, or they had to use particular language or not talk about their issues. When the NHS Club opened, in particular, they were then promoting facilitators at Workington that had no business being facilitators at all, but they knew that they would be loyal to the boys' club. All they wanted to do was be one of the lads, and then they would ship them up to NHS to spy and report back. There was one guy who had PTSD, who was a paratrooper colonel. He'd sustained some injuries. He had issues, and he was scared to talk at times. Again, mostly led by Mike. Mike is the grand master behind the scenes, the ultimate manipulator, just scum.
You mentioned that you still believe in the good that Andy's Man Club provides. In what ways do you think the organisation is failing to live up to its own mantra of, it's okay to talk?
Well, as stated in the emails, I brought to them what I thought was a compelling thing of, listen, we have a wide range of issues here, and as you can see from the responses, immediately it was never about talking, it was never about protecting men, it was never about anything other than, no, we're great, shut up, keep pushing Andy's Man Club forward. And part of what they hide behind is, oh, we're not a professional organisation, we're just here to let men talk, but that isn't what they push in practice. They hide behind that facade, but then whenever you talk to anyone at a club or whatever, they've always got answers and they always know and we're great. And you're just like, yeah, but you're because you're not professional, because you've got no idea, you've got some knowledge without any understanding, and what you're doing is harming every vulnerable individual that comes through that door, especially when it's unchecked, especially when people are raising issues. And again, they're more interested in protecting people like Neil Wayne, giving it to people like Sabrina, who even went as far to type out an email that said good morning or whatever in response to me, and then wait until 5 o'clock on a Friday. Now, obviously, it can't be proven, but it really does seem like the only reason to do that is to send it when my support structure through work isn't there, knowing that I'd receive it and get really wound up. Just scummy behaviour across the board. They know enough about mental health to be manipulative and get their own way and do what they want and push the image of Andy's Man Club that they want people to see. But when confronted with reality, as most abusers, they just try and deflect and shut it down. If you can imagine an organisation as a narcissistic person, they're the same.
Sabrina Mullins, the general manager of Andy's Man Club, initially responded by asking for others to submit their own complaints. Why do you believe this was an ineffective or inappropriate response to the serious allegations you raised?
As stated in the email, particularly the response to that, it was a great deal of stress doing that, delving into all the quite frankly traumatic, abusive situations I'd been in, putting it all down on paper, and knowing that despite them having confidentiality and that in their little bit of paper that they often ignored, that it was going to get back to the boys' club, it was going to get back to Neil Wayne, and I immediately faced backlash from them. As I stated when talking about it earlier, within days, Steve was onto the lead facilitator of Whitehaven. Why the fuck's Dan talking to head office? Why has he done this? We're supposed to be brothers all together. You see what I mean about the emotional manipulation? Trying to stare me down in cars and that. Now, again, I do not give a fuck. I think these people are scum of the earth. While we're on the scum of the earth, you shouldn't be following people who are constantly relying on alcohol or drugs. And we're talking about this Yeah. Even some of them are dealers, which is just, they are not the men to be following. They are not men of renowned character. More reasons why people were scared to bring it up. Again, knowing it would be fed back to Neil, who would then feed it back to the boys. And that's just not on. All we were asking for was someone that wasn't Neil Wayne, part of the problem, to come up and talk to us. And we couldn't get it, which is just disgusting. Beyond that, like I say, the one time that they did send someone up to do an investigation, it was the social media manager, so not at all equipped to do a proper investigation, and he was investigating something else. He was investigating someone who'd been at the Cockermouth group, had a disagreement with someone, gone home, gotten an air rifle and came back. And then because they sent him up to do an investigation for that, they then tried to pass it off as, see, we're doing an investigation, just because they were in the general area. It had nothing to do with the things that I'd raised. They didn't even know about the air rifle and that at the time. Again, they tried to cover that up, rather than issue some kind of statement so that the other clubs in the area could know what had gone on, know what to look out for, and just make sure that everyone was safe. Because again, they do not care. All they care about is market share. Yeah, they want to corner the men's mental health group. That's why Neil Wayne was so hostile towards Mind Your Marries.
In a later email, Sabrina Mullins states that an investigation was conducted and the matter was considered closed. What was your reaction to that email, and why do you feel it was necessary to escalate the complaint?
Well, as stated, there was no investigation. It was just a straight-up cover-up, and that's why I tried to escalate it to Luke, who then just passed it right back down to the person who was engaging in the cover-up. Disgraceful.
The email from Sabrina Mullins states that the investigation found no evidence of wrongdoing regarding Mr. Quinn. Can you explain why you believe this investigation was inadequate?
Well, again, no one involved was questioned by anyone other than when Neil Wayne came up to try and lock in the cover-up. And why Neil Wayne was involved at all when he's listed as part of the problem, don't know. And again, she says in the email, no, to do with us, no wrongdoing, but he was banned from the group. He wasn't allowed to go back, and they had to disengage with him on Facebook and everything like that. Like, there were direct results for Mr. Quinn, but that was all part of the cover-up, not an actual thing of, we need to protect our boys. And again, when they told Mr. Quinn not to attend anymore, they didn't let any of the other groups in the area know, so he could have just swanned in it and carried on. Thankfully, like I say, I was in communication, sharing all the emails with all the genuine facilitators in the area so that they all became aware. Not something I should be doing as a volunteer facilitator. I shouldn't have had to do any of this, to be honest, especially with an organisation that had been running since 2016, and this was 2023, 2024. You'd think that they'd have some modicum, some idea of what they're supposed to be doing. And again, with all the money that came in, I think when we were looking into it at the time, they had £1 million given in a year, and they couldn't be bothered to bring in people who actually knew what they were doing. Again, it was all about keeping it in their little club and their mates and just get the money rolling.
Why do you believe your request for a whistleblower policy was repeatedly ignored? What does this say about the organisation's commitment to addressing serious concerns?
Well, it isn't just that the request was ignored, there was definitely a whistleblower policy. I remember seeing the link and I didn't click it at the time. Again, my neurodivergence, I struggle sometimes to not let my passion get the best of me.